Welcome to Tabletop Baseball Plus. You know, one of the questions that I get asked all the time is, what's your favorite game? Which one do you like the most? Which one would you choose? If you had to pick a game to play, which one would you choose between this one and this one, A or B? Since I've started this channel, that is by far the number one question I get asked, and that's, fair question. The truth of the matter is, I like all the games that I play. All the games that you see me play on this channel, I have no problem playing any one of them at any time. But recently, I finally sat down and kind of made out my top 9 games, because that's what I have is 9 games. And it's kind of fitting because baseball, 9 and baseball go together. And I really thought about it and tried to put them in order, and this is the order that I've come up with for these games. Top 9. Now, like I said, just because a game's number 9 doesn't mean that, it's a bad game. That's just where it falls in the order of my preference. But, like I said also, I'll play any game at any time. If somebody's come up and said, hey, I'll play this, would you want to play this game? And it's my number 9 game. Hey, you bet, I'll play it. Because, really, 1 through 9, you're kind of splitting hairs a little bit in some cases. So, let's get started with number 9. So, my number 9 is a game that I have not played a ton of, but I've played it enough. And I actually just recently did a video with this game, and that is this game right here, Replay Baseball. Again, great game. One of the reasons it's probably at number 9 is just the reading of the cards, the dice, the cross-checking. It is a little bit longer to play because of that. I do have the trifold, which I would suggest. I think it's better than the booklet, which I don't have the booklet. The game I have came with the fold-out results tables, or the columns with all the results on it. And just the overall system of the game is it's not the smoothest system in the world. Still, you got the hitter-pitcher interaction. You start with a hitter card, then you go to the pitcher card. Maybe in some people's minds that's a little backwards, but it's still, you still have that interaction there, which a lot of people really want in a game. But again, the dice, the cross-checking, the rolls of the dice, you can play it where you roll. I think you roll one. You can roll for the pitcher and the hitter, I believe. I have not played it that way. I think that's the old school way. But so anyway, that's my number 9, Replay Baseball. Now, not everybody's going to agree with my order, and that's fine. If you kind of if you watch this channel enough and what I like in games and what I look for, then you're going to understand why the list is the way it is. My number 8 is more of a game instead of a simulation, as what a lot of people have coined it. It's this game right here, History Maker Baseball. Again, great game. I got to hand it to Keith, the designer of the game. It's a great system. Well, the cards use, instead of statistics, numbers, all that stuff, they use attributes. There it is. Like what you see here for Dwight Gooden. And so you'll look, and you will go to the pitcher card first on the chart. You'll go to the pitcher card. If that doesn't take care of the situation, then you'll go to the hitter card. If that doesn't solve the play, then you'll go to the fielder until you finally get a result. So great system. Keith really thought outside the box to come up with this one because it's not your conventional game. Still a very fun game, and I will have a video coming out shortly with History Maker Baseball. Still love to play it. It takes a lot of things into account that other games may not. The mood of the clubhouse, hot and cold batters. If you're replaying a whole season, all that stuff really comes into play. I've not done a season replay or anything. I'll just play a game here and there, so I don't typically use that. The umpires are in the game. So a lot of things to consider with History Maker Baseball. Another great game. So that's my number 8, History Maker Baseball. So my number 7 game is not being produced anymore. It's an older game. Mainly in the later 70s is when it came out. There are people still making cards for it. It is still available, like mainly on eBay. You can find it, and it's this game right here, Status Pro Baseball, 1979 season. Everything's backwards, but 1979 season right here. This was given to me by Stratomatic. Very much appreciated for that. And so recently I've been getting into the Status Pro Advanced game, which is being sold on eBay. And the guy that invented the game or came up with the version of the game also sells cards for it. I think his name's Derek Becker, I believe. I just recently bought some cards from him. The greatest team from the 20s. So be looking for that. That'll be coming out soon. Some more Status Pro Advanced. I like both versions. This is the old school version. So I'll be playing some of that too. I only have one season in it, so it's kind of harder to get more games out with it than the Advanced, which I have some more things in. But I really like, the board is really cool. The old school board. Everything you can do in a real baseball game, you can do with Status Pro. And it's pretty simple. It's a fairly smooth system. With the old school board, everything's on the board. You don't have to look anything up. You can just look on the board and there it is. Fast action cards, not dice, is how the game is played. So that is number 7, Status Pro Baseball. Okay, so I'm down to number 6, and number 6 is a game based on a 50-50 system. A lot of people have problems with a 50-50 system. I don't necessarily buy into any of that. I don't think it's a big deal. But number 6 is this game right here, Dynasty League Baseball. A lot of detail in this game, yet still simple. I think sometimes that the range checks may come into play a little too much. I think some of these games get a little too caught up in the range checks. I think if you look at Major League Baseball as a whole and you look at the best second baseman defensively and the worst second baseman defensively, there's not a big difference. I don't think. I don't think there's that big a difference enough to put it into, or to put a lot of emphasis on fielding. Same with the shortstop, any position really. I don't think there's a huge difference when you look at top to bottom. What puts it at number 6? Like I said before, you're just splitting hairs between some of these games. And I have to put it somewhere, so it falls at number 6. And I don't have, I have one season in Dynasty League. It is a little expensive. Cards are nice, colorful. They're hard to read. The printing on the card are pretty small. I think that may be one of the reasons it drops down a little bit. And a lot of older people play these games, and you know how it is when you get older, you don't see as well. Now Mike has come out with some newer cards that have bigger print, which I have not seen, but the ones I have are a little smaller, so I think that's one of the reasons it knocks it down a little bit. It does take a little bit longer to play. You're looking at 45, to be honest. Some people can say, oh, I can play in 30 minutes. Okay. It's like any other game. It depends on how many defensive checks you have, how many 3-up, 3-down innings you have. So all that stuff has to be considered. So that's number 6, Dynasty League Baseball. So number 5, I don't really have a box I can show. A lot of people get this game through PDF, which I'm not a big PDF guy. I think you end up spending just as much money printing them off yourself, plus you have the time of cutting cards out. I'd rather be playing a game than cutting cards and printing things off. But you can get them already printed, and it's a reasonable price. And that game is Payback Pitch. I do have a couple cards for examples here. Hitter card, pitcher card. So in this game, you do have a lot of pitcher-hitter interaction. You'll start with the pitcher card over here, and it'll tell you which section to look at on the hitter card. So you can see pretty much right off the bat if the pitcher's going to dominate the at bat or not, and then it depends on the hitter. The hitter can still, even if the pitcher gets the tough category, depending on the hitter, he can still get a hit if he's a good enough hitter. A lot to like about Payback Pitch. It is fairly simple. You have the left-right splits. If you want, you can go with just a single column card. I don't know why you would when you can go with left-right splits, but some people prefer just single column cards. Like I said, the pitcher-hitter interaction is there. One of the drawbacks is the lack of seasons. There's not a ton of seasons available. And Payback Pitch can also be played with fast action cards or dice. I prefer the dice version, so that's kind of nice. You have 2 different ways to play it. You can try both, see which one you like better. There are a few quirky things to it. Nothing major, but some of the results, sometimes when you have a double play result is maybe a little quirky. The stealing, maybe a little quirky. Nothing major though. It's not hard to pick up on. A lot of cards. You get a lot of cards. Almost every player is carded for every season. Even if they played maybe 1 or 2 games, they still may have a card for him. So that's another positive for the game. So that's number 5, Payback Pitch. So my number 4 is a little more up my alley. Quick playing, simple, pretty much cuts a lot of BS out, if you will. The checks are easy, and that's this game right here, Pine Tar Baseball. Production quality, top notch. Only thing, like I've said before on this game, is it comes in sheets. The players comes in sheets of 9, and I would rather have individual cards. I like to have my lineup in stacks, in a stack, and just flip through them as I go. It's a little quicker for me. So I can understand why he went with the sheets. Keeps everything visible. But that's a little harder for me to keep track of. That's just not the way I'm used to playing. So this is an example of how they come. I think he has started going to some individual cards. I'm not sure. I think so. But I just cut them out, and then I have my individual cards. Another thing is I wish they had like the team. There's no team name on here anywhere. I wish, put the, I wish the, at least the city was on there. I understand about rights, to nicknames and stuff. I don't think you can just put like Cardinals or whatever on there. St. Louis Cardinals, but you could probably put St. Louis and get away with it. As far as what you need to play the game is this. It's front and back, and that's it. You got this sheet right there, front and back, and that's all you need to look at. That and the cards. A lot of the results come off the cards anyway. You do have left-right splits. So a lot of things, a lot of positives to the game. It's quick playing, like I said. So that's number 4, Pine Tar Baseball. So my number 3 is a game that I recently started playing. It's for the longest time I looked at it, I thought about it, I read about it, people talking about it, and it just seemed a little more complex than I wanted to get into. I don't know, the cards, maybe the way people explained it seemed a little more complex. And then I started watching a video from Cards and Dice Tabletop Sports. I saw him playing it, and I was like, wow, that's not near as complex as I thought it would be. And that's this game right here, Inside Pitch Baseball. Great game, has everything, and it's pretty simple. Like I said, a lot more simple than I thought. Production quality is outstanding. I'll give you a little look at the cards. There's Astros 1980. Look at that. I mean, that's pretty sweet looking cards. Yankees there from 1980. So, like the production value a lot. And simple. You have the pitcher-hitter interaction. You start with the pitcher card, and you'll roll again on the hitter card. If the pitcher doesn't strike the guy out, I mean, he may strike the guy out. It's based on that, the formula of, I don't even know what it's called. I can't remember, but there's some kind of formula out there where the pitcher has control of basically strikeouts, walks, home runs, and there may be something else in there. Not 100% sure, but so that's what you're looking for on the pitcher card. Does the pitcher walk him, strike him out? Does he give up a home run? Or does he have a chance to give up a home run? Depending on the hitter. Just because, you get possibility of a home run doesn't mean it's going to be a home run off the hitter's card. Depends on the hitter. Ballparks take into effect. There's a lot of ballpark effects. Really not anything negative I can say about the game. Is there anything negative I can say? The only kind of negative thing that I could say is, like with a lot of games, really, there are maybe a few quote-unquote gray areas that are open to some interpretation in the rules. But like I said, that happens with almost every game because a lot of rule books are not written very well, in my opinion. I think when you're writing a rule book, you need to write it like you're talking to a 3-year-old. You need to explain everything, every single thing in detail. It doesn't hurt to go overboard in detail. Provide examples, all that stuff, which, it does. It does a pretty good job in the rule book. But like I said, it's really nothing to nothing to complain about with Inside Pitch. That's my number 3. So let's move on to number 2. And number 1. You probably know which one's 2 and which one's 1, though. You know the top 2, but you don't know the order. So let's find out. Alright, so my number 2 is a game I've played more than any other game. By far. It's the quickest playing, the easiest game to get into on the market, still being produced today. It's been around since the 50s. Payback Baseball. Number 2. It's in my blood. It's in my blood. It's like my little brother. If I had one, it would be like your little brother. I can criticize the game, but if somebody else criticizes it, I'm going to come to its defense. So we're talking about basic ABBA. We're not talking about the master game. Recently, I've discovered the Paul Marino boards, which has expanded the basic game for me, which I've talked about a long time ago. ABBA really needs to look into coming up with a mid-range game. Something that incorporates or something that brings the master game and the basic game kind of together in a less complex way. You know, everything that can happen in a real baseball game can happen in the basic game. Stealing is the big hang-up for a lot of people. You know, stealing is an auto thing. It's a game. The game handles the stealing for you. Now, you can incorporate the master game stealing, which is what I've started doing with the Marino boards. You can incorporate the master game symbols, the master game pitching, which spices up the basic game. I still enjoyed just the basic game. Like when I went to that tournament, that was awesome. I mean, that was so much fun, which I never really talked about a lot, the tournament that I went to. It's great. That's one thing great about tournaments. And I think ABBA, there's more ABBA tournaments out there than any other game. And they're growing every year. There's more and more ABBA tournaments. I think it is because of the quickness of play. And again, it was great to go to that tournament because, you know, you're in a room full of guys that share the same passion you do, if not more. They're more passionate than you are. And that really, you know, really spurs you on to really really see how great this game is. The stats that come out from this game you can put them up with any other game. And it's pretty amazing when you think about how simple the game is and how it produces the stats that it does. So again, the only hang-up really is this stealing in the basic game, but again, there's ways around it. There are ways around it. But ABBA Baseball could very easily be number 1. Probably the only thing is the stealing. I mean, that's the only thing that keeps it at number 2. And if they would come out, but as far as, you know, as far as seasons available, every season there is available from this company. You don't have to go on eBay. You don't have to look in thrift stores or whatever to get stuff. Now, if you want to get older stuff cheaper, you can still buy everything brand new from the company every year, produced, still available. So that's number 2, ABBA Baseball. So number 1, if you're into this hobby, you know what it is. You already know. Stratomatic Baseball is number 1. 3 games in 1. That's what it says. Basic Super Advanced and Advanced. You can buy one game. You get all 3 versions. I would love to see APBA do the kind of the same thing. I think, don't be worried about copying Stratomatic. Don't be worried about that. If you're associated with APBA, come on. Let's do this. You can do it. Be innovative. Get up with the times. Don't be afraid to do new things. So Stratomatic, everything you can do in a real baseball game, you can do even in the basic game. And it's still a very quick playing. The basic game is very quick. Is as quick as APBA. Some people call it APBA. I call it APBA. But you can play a game in 30 minutes or less very easily. And you can pick it up very quickly. The basic game. When I'm talking about picking it up, I'm talking about the basic game. And then once you get that down, you can go to the advanced game where you bring in some left-right splits. Then you can move on to the super advanced, which incorporates even more detail into the game. So Stratomatic, I can't really say anything negative about the game. Sometimes maybe the only little negative, I kind of go back to the Dynasty League, is maybe the defensive checks come into play a little too much. Sometimes you get those X chances. Maybe a little too much. Maybe. That's about the only negative I can say about Stratomatic. So that is... And if you want to see any of these games, how they're played, just check out the channel. You can find them. These are baseball simulation games. These are real players. Every one of these games uses real players, real stats. It can be a family game. They're great 2-player games also. It's more of a, father-son type deal would be great. Or mother-son, mother-daughter can play them. But they use real players, real stats, every one of them. Players perform like they do in real life. You can't go wrong with any of them. So if you've ever wanted to know what it's like to manage your own team, manage a real team, real players, all these games are great. If you want to replay a season, replay some historical games, it's all there. And like I said, if you want to check any of these games out, just check on the channel. Just do a quick search on the channel. You can find and see how they play. And so that's it. Those are my top 9 baseball games for the baseball fan or somebody you know is a baseball fan. Great gift. Hey, it's something other than sitting and looking at a computer or your phone. Great way to get people to the table, bring people together to play a game. That is my top 9. Again, thank you guys for joining me. Until next time, have a great day, take care, and God bless.